Today, we're looking at Atramentis Midnight Blue. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Atramentis Midnight Blue is a blue ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I put the ink into a different pen for a day. I then put it into a Noodler's Nib Creeper to take my notes for this video. Now, before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down, immediately put it into water. And what we see is there is this kind of gray across the bottom. Now it does have a line that stays a little bit in place. The gray pushes up, and then we start to get a darker blue at the top. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. Now that line across the bottom is very dark and very there, which makes me really feel that there's about to be some resistance here. We get a lighter gray than we did in the original chromatography. But in the blue at the top, it's not just the dark blue. We see some very light blue. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pens. Now I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handles it incredibly well. At the top of the lowercase h, we do see a little bit of blooming. However, this extra fine is still an extra fine, which makes me feel, at that point when I did it, I was like, wow, watch out. But when we looked at the water with what happened, it sort of made sense based on the highlighter. It really only lifted away some of the darkest tones. Pen Flush did a bit more than water, but the gray from the chromatography is still very there. The gray on that chromatography is on this and not budging. Pen Flush only seemed to have pushed the blue out of the way. Now Bleach, as you would expect, annihilated it, took it straight off the page. If it was to take a 1/3 bleach solution to get this out of your pen, I suggest using it quickly and then flushing it out and cleaning it so you don't leave that bleach in there. It can rust your metal parts. For the inks I've tested, I've found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Atramentis Midnight Blue has a viscosity of 2.64, making it normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper with the extra fine and medium nib. For the inks I've tested, I've found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Atramentis Midnight Blue has an average dry time of 22 seconds, making it a slower dry time. Definitely out of normal. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in sample form, and to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at Clairefontaine. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. Same exact tone with the extra fine. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. It took 14 seconds to dry. The medium, same exact tone with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 23 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both showed us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it, and the smear test says you could probably recover this. Tomoe River, no bleeding. Yes, we get ghosting. It is still Tomoe River, and it likes to ghost. The 1.1 is no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. Slightly lighter tone with the extra fine. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. 18 seconds to dry. The medium goes a darker tone back to what we saw with the 1.1 with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 31 seconds to dry. Looking at the color of this, I don't know that it's what I really would go for. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. In a smear test, you wrote on Tomoe River, you don't get to recover. Rhodia gives us no bleeding, no ghosting.
The 1.1 is no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. This is a very, straightforward, this is it, ink. And the color doesn't do much for me. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen. No, that won't work. No shade. Sorry about the mic noise. 15 seconds to dry. The medium gets a little bit darker. The thicker lines make it look much darker, but it's actually just a little bit darker. No feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, and wow, 30 seconds to dry. Not worth it to me for this color. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. In a smear test, you would be able to recover this color if you smeared it. So this is Levenger paper. Levenger gave us no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 had no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a noticeably lighter tone with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. The medium is a noticeably darker tone, back to what we saw with the 1.1. No feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 15 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it, and a smear test, you could definitely recover it if you smeared it. So Franklin Christoph. On Franklin Christoph paper, we see spots where it's starting to come through a little heavy. So it's wanting to start to bleed through, although it didn't bleed through. Except in the scrubby, which it starts to go on, I'm putting it on stupid thick, so it doesn't really matter. But we have no ghosting. The 1.1, the 1.1 on Franklin Christoph paper, it had no spread, but it has feathering all over the place. Ew. It's just disappointing when pen makers make paper and don't make sure that it's fountain pen friendly if you make fountain pens. A lot of feathering here. No halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine performed much better. The extra fine had no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 8 seconds to dry. It is a lighter tone than we got with the 1.1. The medium is going to become the darker tone that we saw with the 1.1. But the medium returns to some of those problems. We don't have spread, but we have feathering all over it. Tiny little feathering all over the writing. It's not nice here. 13 seconds to dry. Disappointed with this paper. The medium and the fine, or the extra fine and the medium scrubby, both showed us no color variation. Didn't expect it, didn't get it. Smear test, yes, you could recover this if you smeared it. So Life paper, which it's interesting the color. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. What's interesting is this midnight blue became a midnight teal turquoise-ish. Hard to tell the two on this particular one. Very noticeable in the scrubby. Very noticeable with the 1.1. Kind of noticeable with, or very noticeable in the extra fine. Kind of noticeable in the 1.1 and the medium. So it shifts from being that blue to being more of a turquoise. I'm going to go with 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine becomes a noticeably lighter tone with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, and 12 seconds to dry. Now the medium gets darker than the extra fine, but not as dark as the 1.1. It also has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. This Life paper does very well. It's a laid paper. It is one of my favorite papers. This is my correspondence paper with people because I like it so much. It feels fantastic. It's not so smooth that it's like glass. 19 seconds to dry. Worth it to me with this color. The extra fine and the medium scrubby show us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. And a smear test you could definitely recover if you smeared while you were writing. And that is all that I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like the Atramentis Midnight Blue, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Now, being a very dark blue, leaning towards the blue blacks, I wanted something bright. I chose Diamine's Hope Pink because it's one of the few pinks that I think are very usable. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Atramentis Midnight Blue? This is a very flat blue ink with some kind of turquoise undertones. Just is how it looks while writing. It's also very businesslike, which is good, but the color exactly here, it's one of those weird things in slight differences from one blue black to another and one blue to another, and the slight changes from green can make one green better than another. This, as a blue or as a blue black, doesn't really appeal to me because it's very dull in its writing, but it is a very well performing ink. It is very good, and it does have some permanence to it. Thanks for watching.